Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we discuss the issues as to what's happening in our communities and what we can do to solve these issues. Tonight, we have a former engineer, Mr. Calvin Bailey, as our guest tonight. Let me tell you guys a little bit of something about Mr. Bailey. He's a former engineer, enthusiast, and military veteran. Calvin was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He pursues the constant of the inevitable inspiration of technology. Working as a computer engineer in associated concentrations, Bailey devoted his research through several entities, through community projects to corporate business innovations over a decade. From solar panel technology, audio production, cybersecurity, and health and wellness, his continuance for implementing forward thinking and abstract intellect with Fortune 500 companies created relationships with foreign techs and innovators throughout his career. Till this day, he rendered obedience towards the conscious effort of creating new aspects and technical development for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you all to Mr. Calvin Bailey. Mr. Bailey, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the opportunity. How's everything going?
Oh, I'm glad that you're here with us, and thank you for taking the time to be here with us.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio that I just read?
Yes, I want to give a shout out to Gasker from the United States Marine Corps. Give a shout out to my family for continuing on this journey to pursue my craft and the fields of studies. Um, and everybody here that's down here in Atlanta, Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, to my sisters and brothers, they don't know who they are.
Okay. Well, I thank you for being here, and I guess we'll just dive right on in. So tell us, what inspired you to pursue a career in engineering?
So, it all started with my first computer, which was a Packard Bell computer. Before there was Compaq, there was a thing called Packard Bell. And growing up, I was always into technology. It just was until the fact that when we used to have a computer, I was the main one that had to fix everything. So I started literally going from the fundamentals of fixing a computer from not knowing anything to literally making rough drafts of different levels of microchips all the way over to building the mainframe to function the internet. And then everything from there was history.
Okay. So then that means that you've always had the innovation of wanting to work on electronics. Is that what that sounds like? We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Like I said,
Okay.
keeping me back. I was always in the realm of always fixing things, especially whether it's in electrical, whether it's software. Because anything in the house that had to be done, I had to facilitate. Even if there was anything that had to be done, had to be fixed. That's what's kind of like the sole proprietorship of being an engineer. You're creating something or fixing something. And really, it's all about the energy relying on intellect. And that's the main
Okay.
thing I have been devoting to over the years.
So, how did you transition from engineering to IT, or how do you integrate both fields in your work?
Well, well at first, when I got started, I already had a degree in helping development in massage therapy. When I was on the forward, all of my expertise when I was doing computers back in that time frame and merged it into health and wellness because everything is detailed. And then after that, got my first degree in massage therapy, went to the military, and then forward making to go to different levels of paths of career goals, and one of them led me into the IT field as well as supply chain logistics. And then from there, the Marine Corps that's guided me to the IT field of studies, all the way down to system engineering and operation security, which led to cybersecurity as we speak now, which is more of a polytechnical philosophy at that time.
So, so with you being in the military, first of all, like what branch were you in, and how is it that you got to be so diverse when it comes to both IT and engineering?
Well, being in the Marine Corps, being in the United States Marine, you have to learn how to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And based off of the expertise of learning from different individuals, especially different levels of leadership, you actually have to use that level of guidance and render to the discipline that you have within yourself to build the actual essence of understanding the rough draft of learning the field of study. Because at the end of the day, if they're not there and you're still in that unit, you actually have to learn how to facilitate certain things based off the unit shift and different environments. Um, that way, it keeps everything regular and smooth, especially when we have this thing called the left seat, right seat formality. Things going towards the knowledge of the environment based on the knowledge of expertise within the situation or within a position of authority or precision of leadership. So you have to be very thorough of understanding the rough draft and nuances that comes with it. Because especially you're going to have to understand personalities between intellects because that creates sometimes the friction that will either deter or become the effect of the ideas that you're trying to learn from.
Okay. So can you tell us so what branch were you in? What branch of service were you in?
United States Marine Corps.
Say that one more time.
I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was a devil dog.
Oh,
You call it.
Marine.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Shouts
hear
out
you. Um,
had a Soul Battalion and Weapons Bravo and 1327 and shouts out to Second MLG and everybody I was with in boot camp from Rome to Barry, Quebec to Wayne, to Gaskin, who's a dear friend of mine, to homeboy Washington, probably this. So we were all kind of like in that realm of learning the familiarities of our own philosophy. And we were just building on it as we go. So shouts out to Melvin. He's doing a great thing. He's an engineer himself. I haven't, we haven't really spoken as much, but when we talk, it's always refreshing to hear nuances of what he's going through on a regular basis. That him and Whiting. So, shouts out to those guys.
okay. So what motivated you to get involved in community development?
Everything desires growth and development. Everything desires growth and development. The only thing I just have to do in that situation is get with like-minded people that's willing to understand and adjust to that criteria. Um, of course, everything has its stepping stones and boundaries that we all have to attend to. Not to mention, we have outside responsibilities that we have to cater to. However, we just go through it in piece by piece, detail by detail. As an engineer mindset, we have to break everything down to its teeth. It's not just literally making me hard shell, but also everything inside that has to function correctly with the essence of dealing with safety as well. And with that being said, I had some very like-minded people that not only taught me so many different things that I could feel to study, but also things about life as well that I can actually build on to create the actual leadership that everyone can actually connect with. So where everyone has an open-ended, uh, everybody has an open-ended questions as well as suggestions that I'm willing to actually accept and understand.
Okay. So, can you describe a particularly challenging engineering project you've worked on?
Yes, we actually had one. I think it was when I first got started into my senior project. The senior project was really dealing with we did pretty much an engineered glove, and this engineered glove can really do anything that you could think of. The only problem was that we had to go through the hack and the hacking system that we were trying to test out. It wasn't really fulfilling the ideals of what we need. So, with the expertise that we were trying to look for, the glove itself short circuit based on the cloud configurations of actually going towards the hacking process. But we're trying to make sure it's 100% cyber secure based on what it needs to be done. Based on the glove itself, but the other things it can do is that it can turn off light, it can turn off lights in the house, it can charge your phone up by holding it. It can turn your phone on. It can turn on your TV just by snapping your fingers because it has actually it's a smart glove. Because pretty much we made the first smart glove as a science project. We almost tried to put it at the hackathon, but the only problem was that it was hacking proof, and we were trying to make sure that it was 100% cyber secure. And one of the things that we have turned from an objective to a result is that we actually got some assistance from our forwarding professors that gave us some insight to actually get that fixed. And the only thing we did, we just improvised the actual remaining of the glove and made a brand new one. And then we just updated and we pushed it going forward. But it was really one of the most nerve-ending, gut-wrenching, like level of high-end annoyance, but we literally got it through. And I'm talking about as soon as we finished it, it was really like a breath of fresh air and a joyous occasion. Like everybody literally celebrated and once we graduated.
Oh, wow. So, was that a successful project?
Yes, it was. It was one of our. It was one of my first successful projects that I literally, even through after work, I spent at least 4 to 5 hours a day. And then on the weekends, it could have been like no more than 12, no more than 12 hours. Because
Oh,
that
wow.
was because it was a very sensitive project, and you had to be very detailed because you had to go towards the fabric, the wiring, the soft shell work, and the hardware work. You have to make sure that it was waterproof, water resistant, and making sure the glove still had its flexibility and mobility within the lining. So it made it, but out of all of that, it made one of the most brilliant, one of the brilliant expertise of camaraderie, brilliant expertise of sticking to the objective, maintaining discipline, standard and structure of just keeping everything together.
Wow. So, how do you stay updated with the latest advancements in engineering?
There's so many other avenues you can get into. There's expos you can get into, certain different magazines. Um, like in Atlanta, there is a place called Micro Center. And Micro Center, at this day and age, is pretty much like the Walmart of engineers. Like anything you need, if you have a Radio Shack, well, Micro Center is kind of like the Walmart for Radio Shack. So anything engineers need, whether it comes from transmitters, diodes, if you need something dealing with speakers, you need something dealing with a brand new microchip, a graphic card, a new mainframe server, anything within that nature, Micro Center is the spot. Not to mention, you'll always get expos every summer for the new and improved technology that's supposed to be coming out for the next 5 to 10 years. Such as when I was coming up from 2012 to 2013, um, Google Glasses was a prototype. It didn't come out yet
Right.
until Ray-Ban gave its first design to actually co-sign with the Google Glasses to give it a better, more style because that was going to be the retro phase of fashion. So when we got to there, the TSRB building of Georgia Tech was the first to go through that Google Glasses prototype. And then once it got passed over to the social norm, then Ray-Bans became one of the more entities of style for the next wave for the glasses. Now you can get them anywhere and everywhere for little or nothing from where it first got started, which was a high value engineering spectrum. So you
Wow.
can go.
So,
Mhm.
so can you tell me, when it comes to the Micro Center, I mean, do you find it to be a really reliable source for you to get any and everything that you need when it comes to the work that you do?
Guaranteed. Majority everything you need, even majority anything you need, everything you need, especially when it comes to the confines of being an engineer, especially when trying to revolutionize a lot of different things that need that nuance. You you need that fundamental properties to get it started. The fundamental properties of being an engineer is always making sure you keep your standards, your structure, your objective, and your focus down to one thing you need to do as an assessment. Those are the four pillars of fortifying your discipline. And based off of that, it creates so much of a world, like a whirlwind of entities that you always gonna keep that fortitude strong. So
Okay.
and that yeah, so it's great. Shouts out to IEEE because I was with that committee for years, which is also another entity that you can go off of to look up for new technology that's coming in, especially when it comes to the social norms of society.
What skills do you believe are essential for a successful engineering career?
But for one, expertise, and never and spare no expense of learning more. Anything outside of the box that creates the fundamental structure of engineering, spare no expense of learning it. That's regardless of where we are right now, from where the internet first came out to now we have from AOL to broadband. Now we have Wi-Fi. Spare no expense of learning more. So now we have so many ideals of aerodynamics. It went from, I'm sorry, we also had DSL, you know. So we got AOL, we have the DSL, we have broadband, now we got Wi-Fi, now we have fiber optics. So, and now we're going to have things that consider water, we're going to have like water-based, pretty much water aqua Wi-Fi that's going to be coming up. And it's probably still getting tested. Um, because everything is coming from the essence of a natural resource. Even through solar panels, when it comes to certain places that has a high climate or a high climate of acclimation with heat, that can be used as another source of energy, especially when they're going through the connection between phosphorus and boron on top of the energy in between it that actually powers it to keep it going, which is usually either a polysaccharide, in which they'll break it down to a monosaccharide, which is literally beyond scientific notation. And we can get into that later.
Okay. So, how do you approach problem solving in your engineering projects?
But the majority of things you have to go through is just you have to follow. Like I follow these steps. You go through hardware, software, internet, and then you go through cybersecurity, and you actually, and then everything else it goes backwards because that's how it works. So if anything that's going on, if anything that's on troubleshooting with any system, you start with hardware, and if there's nothing wrong with the hardware, check the software. Check the software and check the cyberware, which is really be in between in regards to where the internet connects and where the software is supposed to be functioning. And if that's not going on, check the cybersecurity of both sides. And then you just work your way out. At times it could be something completely, completely abstract. There could be something so small that you really, it's like almost a grain of sand that can just make a big mistake. A good example is this: when working for a solar panel company, a lot of things have working parts. And with those working parts, anything can happen. A good example is that when we work at one of these places, kind of like a corner cap, which is the back end of the warehouse. From the front end, they're making the strings, they're making the cells, the strings, and then the laminator seals everything off from a front glass and back glass to seal everything in to compact it. Once they go through all these measures, once they go through all these measurements and things of that nature, they go to the finishing areas to make sure to go through a thorough check because everything is low voltage and high to keep everything regulated and tested. Once it gets set off to the finishing product, or they call it the final quality check, the corner caps will get sipped on. However, based on the vendors of certain different modules, it can be anything, any type of discrepancy. The framer could be heavy, it could be too thin, or the module itself is too heavy, or even the conveyor belt could be tightened or maybe worn down. But in this case, when we look through every situation, the main problem we actually found that made the corner cap actually shut off completely, and we kept hearing like air because that's majority of the stuff is pretty much pneumatic control. It was one actual sensor that had a hole cut off. And one of the wires was just like openly broke. So we had to take that. So we had to take the switches off of it, strip it down, put a new one in there, connect it, and it went back on.
Oh wow!
So that was one
And
of the.
so how often do you do work like that with solar panels?
A lot. There's never a dull moment as an equipment tech when you're going through that situation. It could be something dealing with the modular repair. It could be something dealing with a soldering problem. It could be something dealing with the LGVs, which is a Android-like forklift. And the majority of the time, it will either be a system reset or a system malfunction because the power grids are usually shut off at a certain time because the computer has to update it. So usually, whatever type of workload is still on that module, it has to actually reset itself, and it will not work. It will shut down right there. So we will have to go through those. So there's going to be times when we have to once that system is upgraded, we have to kind of keep everything pretty much in a normal manner, because if you don't, certain situations will try to repair itself that doesn't exist.
Mm.
And then usually happens in the inspection.
What are some of the biggest challenges you faced in the IT industry?
I'm going to say this, and I hope everyone will get this really, really thorough. If you're pursuing, this is not just for engineering, this is anything in your life. If you are pursuing something, never get hustled so that you're getting pursued. Because you have to have three balances in life. You got to have your life balance, your work balance, and your balance of pursuit. Out of all three, never get hustled for any of them. You cannot get hustled for what you're trying to pursue. If you're going to school for this thing and based on the contract, based on what they're supposed to provide, you got to make sure you get everything that you can out of that school, because they're getting every dollar out of you. And then once you understand
so,
that,
so they will hustle you if you let them. Then
yes, never ever, as a veteran who's gone through so many different avenues of every vest to the essence of going through our discipline, going through our work ethic, our high-end work ethic, because we all come from structure, and everything about our structure and objective is to complete the mission, regardless of what any branch or service you're in. The object of anything in life is to complete the mission. But you don't want to get hustled while you're completing the mission. That's not authentic for us. But also at the exact same time, we will go after what we have to go after. We're going to honor our integrity and our authorization of making sure we get it done. You just don't want to get hustled in the process. And that's a lot of things that happens in this economy that literally goes left for a lot of different people. Because now it's not about expertise anymore. It's about network.
Right. Right.
Network outweighs intellect. So it's not about how great you are with one thing. It's all about who you know that can be beneficial to the next step.
Wow.
You can have, I remember a time in the 90s, it was literally, if you have a degree, it opened up doors. Now the degree can't even give you a key. Like you're spending 75, 85,000 a year for one undergrad. And now that undergrad is not even the stepping stone to the next prophecy that coming over. You're doing it Indy 500, and once you hit 499, and you assume the checker flag is waving, now you before you hit that quarter turn, now it's back to the green flag again. So now you got to do another 500 miles.
Wow. Let
That's
me
how
ask.
that's how it is.
So, can you tell me this? Are the those certification programs, are they even worth these young up and coming individuals that want to get into this industry? Are those
Yes,
certifications worth?
yes, 100%.
Hmm.
But you have to make sure the accreditation, and you got to make sure the accreditation actually approve the integrity of the school. Because the integrity of the school must be validated outside the accreditation.
Hmm.
Any you go to any school out here and maintain their discipline to do what you need to do. As long as they keep the integrity of what they have to do as a service for the actual student, that right there, under any certification school, that has to speak about. The main thing about anything dealing with education, regardless if it's nonprofit or not, they have to keep the integrity of that educational background, making sure that they always going to support the student that put forth the effort rather than the actual teacher that's putting forth the expertise to teach. The
Well,
integrity must be with that.
can you discuss a major IT project you've led or been a part of?
Oh yeah, there is one sports science. We did the national thing for the fastest jab, so the fastest punch in the world. And I actually had the opportunity to research and create with a couple other guys the fast punch, the fastest punch that ever been done. And we went through we would do certain different boxes to test it out at first. I was kind of like, we went to a boxing gym and we actually had to do a couple of contestants who was willing to go through it. We went through the one in Atlanta, but it all started at PAL, so it's called the Police Athletic League. And, that's pretty much a well-renowned boxing gym area. Um, then we went to certain different spots. The boxers themselves, who no matter if they were strawweight all the way up to heavyweights, we try to test this theory. Then we went from karate to everybody who had kung fu or kempo. Based on my engineering spectrum, we actually use the actual glove that we have to actually use that to test the wind reduction. We took out the noise cancellation. We also took out the wind resistance, and then not last but not least, we did the water trajectory where we actually had to use the speed in the water and then go after aerodynamics. And I was actually part of that, and it was one of the most interesting things to see based off of an individual or even human beings that actually had that amount of speed and strength just off of one punch. And I was actually part of that project with a couple of other people. Shout out to those
Okay.
guys, man. They were crazy.
How do you keep up with rapid changes in technology and IT trends?
Oh, well, for one, everything about the IT trends is all from the youth. The youth actually revolutionizes the educational boundaries because they're always going to have open-ended ideas. No matter what they do in life, they're always going to have open-ended ideas. So it's always okay to listen to. It's always okay to learn from their expertise in life because majority of things they're doing, they're learning from the schools that teaching them, in which we had to go to college for us. So it's brilliant to kind of keep an open mind and staying optimistic to this wave of education because now even for the mature like myself, we actually see it being pioneered based on the next wave of expertise because everything they have in their world is really open ended and we're really revolutionizing the concept of just being outside the box, but still keeping the discipline.
Oh, wow. So, what are your thoughts on the future of IT and its impact on other industries?
It will literally go from revolutionary to simplicity. Um, the essence of technology is like anything else. Once it becomes, once certain things are revolutionized, it becomes simplicity. When it comes from garden tools, when it comes from, we went from washing dishes by hand to now having a dishwasher. We remember when having when we had like the washer, the way we used to wash clothes, is you had the little, the actual pan, you had to boil hot water, regular soap, and you had to scrub like that. Now we have an actual two-step process. We can actually have a washer and a dryer. Well, back in the day, you could actually wash our clothes and then hang it out to dry and let nature take its course. And usually, it always going to lead to either a heads or tails on how it's going to dry. Now we have irons and we have different levels of irons. Now we have we got these printing presses, which usually we had a whole stamping and printing company that can actually print everything in the comfort of your own home. So the essence of everything revolutionary becomes simplicity, and it's a never-ending cycle. It's like Old Testament and New Testament technology is going to always be the revelation of simplicity. Everything about technology will
So,
always be a revelation of simplicity.
how do you approach cybersecurity in your IT projects?
Well, in so many different ways, cybersecurity is it's a probably technical situation, and they're always going to rely on the internet. Usually deals with individuals at first, but majority everything is going to be dealing with something that's put into a actual computer or something dealing with the internet. Majority of cybersecurity itself is always going to be dealing with the essence of invited, something being invited and brought in, rather than being destroyed and taken out. Because even through the essence of hacking, in certain you actually have to accept it as a profile.
Okay. So, can you share an example of a project where you had to collaborate with a multidisciplinary team?
Okay. We had this situation where in the Marine Corps, we actually had a guy who actually had a laptop, and he was with the supply chain logistics group in Afghanistan. Um, at this point, he was at a place where they called NWR, right outside by Camp Bastion and Camp Leatherneck. At that time, it's probably changed now in no telling. When we went up there, he actually had his laptop hacked. Now, based off of the situation, I was working in the IT help desk at that time, and with the assistance of everyone else, um, and go all the parameters of doing everything else, and we're doing my duties and TAD units. I actually had the opportunity to work for the IT help desk to actually see how the blue and the red team was taking care of things. And when I actually tell you that they look through the MAC addresses, they look through They have these certain programs to remind you. For those who know it, it's called Wireshark. They'll actually break down what actually happened, and it goes step by step. And sometimes they'll actually show you where the profile came from and how it was opened to let you know if you were vishing or phishing, or if they actually accepted a web duplication of, getting their profile in. However, all this stuff was literally going through our SOP of OPSEC, Operation. And since he didn't follow it at that time, then we had to go through the transition of using the blue team, which is defense, and the red team, which is offense, to actually find out the criteria of how to penetrate his hard drive, and then penetrate his hard drive and software, and then find the problem, and then find the defense mechanism to keep everything together, like adjusting his firewall and making sure that all of his profiles clean and slated, and make sure he gets at least 20% of his stuff out, because what he had was all government documented, and some of it was gone. So,
so what role does innovation play in your engineering work?
a funny thing about that, when it comes to innovation as an engineer, you always gotta, for me, I gotta listen to music, because music itself, it has its own nuances of engineering innovation. Because now hearing you're not really hearing the analog of certain different instruments. You're hearing the digital analog of a lot of different instruments, because it's so sharp. It's crisp, it's sharp, and not all of it has a mistake involved. It's like you can hear a strum, but you cannot understand if the strum is computerized or it came from him, unless you actually look at the retro videos of some of our greats, our great instrumentalists, like Dave Brubeck or Miles Davis, or Buddy Waters, BB King. Like you can't mimic that. And then you look at it in the digital world, there's so many different ways they can actually mimic that now, because they can make an actual custom version of what that style is, but it will never be the original harmonious strumming or harmonious ideas of sound that was revolutionized from the beginning. It can always create it, because the innovation is going to revolutionize itself. So music can usually be one of the things that an engineer, for me, that I realize it gives you a refreshing sense of recreating and revolutionizing yourself and being better. I mean, creativity is at its best.
So those greats that you just mentioned, BB King and so forth. I mean, I think it's probably an honor not only to our culture, but it's an honor to that industry when you can compare so many great people to that actual work, because that work itself is what's supposed to last forever, and over time, as it's being innovative and it's growing. Like, how do you actually take the time out for, let's say, when you get new people that come in? Do you mentor a lot of these young folks that are coming into this industry to help them to get to moving and show them the right way to do it?
Only thing on it, because a lot of them have the clear confidence in moving forward. They have the clear confidence. They have the support system to go forward. The only thing I just give them is simple advice. I give them simple advice based off the character that they brought to me. A lot of times they're already straightforward, they're always like-minded. Some of them are introvert, which is okay. So, coming from that spectrum, it's okay to just give them advice along the way, because you'll never know where their direction is going unless they ask. But at the same time, I'm always going to welcome, and I'm welcoming them with open arms just in case they need assistance. No matter what they do.
So when you mentioned some of them are introverts, I mean, is that a normal a characteristic of an individual that works in the industry in which you work in?
Not necessarily. Some of them have a introvert focus, but they're ambivert overall. Like they just know how to interact with people, and they're very particular how they understand personalities. So,
Hmm.
in regards of even certain people in leadership, it goes that way as well. Some some of them are extroverts because of like of how they connect based off of internal instincts of connecting to certain different people based off of that field. Or they're using the paternal intellect to keep all the structure good. So it varies based on the criteria of what they're trying to pursue. But overall, introverts, you know, like you see them often, but they're only based off of particular ideas. So, but overall, they're all pretty much they act the same.
Okay. So, can you share an experience where you had to troubleshoot a critical IT issue?
Hmm. That's take the pick. We had a PLC issue. We had an HMI issue. We had a random hardware smash. We had a computer that was on fire. Oh, there's so many to choose from. Uh, there was one where there was a power outage in a building, and we were all trying to find the main circuit breaker. And the main circuit breaker on the main one they had, there was a backup generator. The backup generator, you could not find it because there's certain parts of the building that only the electrician knew, but never gave us the standard and structure of it. So for us, the electrician wasn't there, and the architect engineer he's on vacation. So literally, where we was going, we really had to go step by step of looking at this map to find the second backup generator and the switch that goes on. Because once you turn on that second generator, it turns on the first one and then turns on the whole system. It took us literally, it took us literally 8 hours on top of the extra 10 hours of me working to find that second generator. And the crazy part about it was in a whole nother building.
Wow. So it seems like you're normally used to working with large teams. Is that the case?
I wouldn't say large teams, but I work with a lot of active people. I have an active team. Uh, a
Okay.
team that, in my world, a team of 10 people can literally run 3 buildings. That's how active we were. You can put
Oh
a group of
wow.
you can put a group of 5 people in one building, and we can literally knock out from we could say we had a 20 foot, we had a 20 floor building. 5 people cleared through system checks and everything. They cleared all 20 and still had to reset
Wow.
and do everything else. So
Really?
I we went like every team that I went through, we were always active. Even when somebody was short-handed, even somebody who was sick and we were short-handed, we just found ways to improvise so much. And that's probably because that majority of us had a very active background, whether it was work, whether it was sports, whether it was military and force or military and cruise. The discipline and the active persona of that team was validated.
Mm.
It literally built up a lot of camaraderie as well as a lot of people put a lot of great thought to keep that nuance of activity going, especially the energy that you need to keep it overflowing anyway.
So, how long have you been in this industry?
Going on 10 years now.
Okay. So, in those 10 years, have you thought about entrepreneurship?
Yes, I have. I I literally thought about entrepreneurship in so many different ways, but it was just pretty much the approach. A lot of people wanted me to kind of step away from the engineering world and be a motivational speaker. And I was like, I can see that, but I'm not too sure about that. You know, I don't like talking to you.
Okay, but I mean, like, so in entrepreneurship, let's say you go out there and you want to create uh, Bailey's cybersecurity.
Okay.
What does that look like?
Well, if we're hypothetically speaking, cybersecurity, I will literally have I'll have four forms of cybersecurity. I'll literally have the fundamental, the red, the blue, and I have a great services team. I have a great services team to connect with the businesses, to give them free range to uh, talk shopping service with us. That way we can actually learn from different areas. Then we have the pen test team where they literally just straight are just with taking, penetrating the software, understanding the hardware services. And then last but not least, we'll have 4 or 5 PEs that's actually pretty much, we call them black hats. Which means they're like the gurus. But in the end of the day, that's going to take a lot of education, a lot of services, a lot of certifications. And if it was
Okay.
my way of dealing with the company, based on the structure and standards of what I want to assume, I want to put every single one of them through a training module, and each team, each team, each section, going to go through a lot of different scenarios and be well prepared for the mental objective and the fortitude of the kids to keep the job done. Especially if you want to pursue to be a professional engineer, which a lot of people in that world wants to become that, or become a security engineer or a security architect. So it builds a lot of entities in around them. It builds hypothetically speaking.
So, can I ask you this? Would it
Yes, sir.
also consist of you having, doing networking? That is software development. That is the help desk and all these many other things that go along with that.
Yep.
Would you like build it all the way out, or would you just keep it just simple?
That will actually be part of the training. But the IT help desk will have IT help desk issues. We'll have troubleshooting issues. We'll dealing with we'll go from ITF. We go through CompTIA. We go from ITF all the way to Cloud Plus. That's including Cloud Essentials, including AWS, including Cloud Plus, and including Cloud Security Plus, which may come out soon. Because Cloud is technically brand new and it's on this stage right now. So
Okay.
Cloud is on this premature stage right now. But once it start going off as a service, it is going to go rapid.
So, can you describe a community development project that you are particularly proud of?
I was actually proud of one of the things I was actually proud of was the digital marketing system that me and these guys made. That's when I was actually going through my my research in music. Because I was going in between engineering and musicianship, um, in which led to a lot of streams, a lot of great services, and social media connected. So it literally connected me to a lot of good people and a lot of good connections to network with others, in which it gave me great insight to learn and literally move forward to the next step. And the guys that I was working with, they set up all of my shows, they set up all of my servers, they set up all of my services. And last but not least, for every show that I actually made, every show that I actually created, and all the donations that I put in, such as St. Jude, um, we had a couple of some local projects through parks and services to keep summer leagues going for kids through AAUs and things of that nature. And I was actually proud of that because it was all like black owned. It was all black owned and black invested. So I was I was actually I stuck my chest out a little bit, being proud of that moment.
That's what's up. I like that.
Mhm.
So, can you tell how do you identify the needs of a community before starting a project?
Everybody, it's always going to be people that are like minded in the area that you're comfortable with. And you can find anything and everything based off the persona you have. And you're always going to, how can I say, based on the person you are, you're always going to attract the people that universally reflect you. And based off of dealing with a community that needs something as a necessity, you always want to be with like-minded people that's willing to pursue that necessity. And that is really one of the things that's always as a community that's going to be either agreeable or could be the deterrent to the next step.
Mm.
So
So, how do you ensure quality and safety in your engineering projects?
well, everything should be fundamentally sound. I mean, of course, you gotta have your goggles, gotta have your gloves, and you gotta have your engineering tools. And everything about it, that's literally number one. Especially if you're working on heavy equipment, you gotta have your safety shoes, gotta have your hard hat, and your regular hat, depending on the services or the company you work with. Then you have to have your engineering tools, whether it's going to be an Allen wrench set, or regular wrenches if it's American. If it's foreign, chances are it'll either go from Philip or Flathead, or if it's Asian descent or Indochina, you always have Allen wrenches, especially when you're dealing with pressure switches and things of that nature. So,
Okay.
so quality and safety are always going to be a beneficiary, depending on the the determination between foreign and domestic systems.
What programming languages and tools do you find most useful in your IT work?
Uh, Java, Java is always a big one because it can be shorthanded. Now you got Java Plus, which is highly shorthanded, and on top of that, off it's pretty much kind of like I guess kind of say the young adult stage. And last but not least, you can never go wrong with C plus, especially C plus plus when it's actually going those ins and outs of learning the dynamic of all your codes, especially when they break everything down from scratch. That's how you can thoroughly learn a system as the system operates. Compared to using Java, you're using the majority of the system operation based on the internet.
So, do you do a lot of coding?
Majority I do a lot of coding, and then majority of my expertise in regards of like program logic controls. Majority of the system operations, we have to kind of like figure out which sheet of that code is messing one side up. It usually could be a system issue or it could be a software issue. And if it's really a software issue, we'll actually go in depth to see the sheet of code or where it's going to be in depth, or it could be delivery of skill. But that's only depending on which side of the fault are you. So majority is always going to be either or, especially and depending on the work that you do. If you work from home, it's software. If you work in a building, it could be
So, what has been the most rewarding project in your engineering career so far?
me. I am the biggest project that I had to work on. There's a lot of things that I really had to build on and learn from, in which I have. There has been times I've been stubborn, where I've kind of stuck to one nature. That's only because that everything else I assumed was repetitive. It was kind of like playing chess, and I already know the moves. 'Cause I've seen these moves so much until someone changed the whole game on me, and I had to like, okay, I can learn something. Um, and then on top of that, especially learning AI I've seen some projects that I've actually researched on, and I've had some opportunities to kind of get into. Um, one of the one of the guys that I talked to today, he's making his own kind of crypto program, and he wanted me to give him some insight on how to fix it and everything. And going on a few months now, it's actually progressing, but it hasn't gone live yet. But he's actually more shocked the information I was adding to it rather than just providing it for myself, because all I was doing was watching it grow. And based off of that, the way the AI is moving, it should be fine if he decides to use it in the public spectrum.
So tell me, how do you feel about in today's time how you got a lot of people that have this issue with AI and technology in general? How do you think that's going to turn out in the future?
Everybody probably go back to rudimentary engineering. They probably go back old school soon. Because for one, they always assume that with AI, it's simple because they're thinking for you. However, if you don't understand with AI, it's all the information that you were looking up, and it literally just kept storing all the information that you was trying to find. And the only thing they're doing at this point is just replaying everything back, because now that is your character. They know what type of person you are because of all the actual research that you are looking for. So what they do is they offer a lot of suggestions, and all those suggestions, it gives you this actual reflection that this computer knows you.
Mhm.
You go through a million researches literally a year. Hypothetically, you go through a million levels of research every year, whether it goes from cartoon to sports to current events to music. Once you get up all that information and this high level of polytech internet ideals, which is AI stuff, what it's doing is we're playing back everything that you have researched. When the profiles you have on social media, everything you look for in there, everything you look for in regards to who you're connected to family wise, the state that you live in, the state that you're born in, they'll go through all that information and just replay it back to you as a service, but as a small service as a suggestion. That's what the AI doing now.
Well,
And
so that itself, though, that means that it's doing a service, but is it really doing a good service for the people?
only for those who are trying to manipulate a system.
Wait a minute, why manipulate? Why manipulate?
Because change is inevitable. The synonym for
Oh,
inconsistency is change. AI stays the same, but it changes its information. It still stays in storage, but yet information always changes, which gives it the exact same philosophy, the anomaly for ideas of life, because it's
mhm.
learning from you based off of what you look for. If you don't have anything in the system, then it doesn't. That means that
Wow.
you don't exist. So if you stay off the grid, there's no such thing as AI.
Okay.
But once you
So,
have a cell phone, AI is always going to be around.
how do you ensure effective communication within your IT team?
You're always going to have 3 to 4 forms of communication. Of course, face to face. Of course, you have the 3 levels of communication with the phone. You got talk, text, voicemail, or video chat if you're an iPhone fan with, with FaceTime or something. Um, and the last but not least, you have emails, and you have different levels of work-related apps like Telegram and Zoom, which those are pretty much internet-based communication. But it has, of course, LinkedIn could be part of that as well, depending on the service of the business. But yet, usually the communication factor is always going to deal with comprehension. So comprehension is always going to be the number one thing to make communication be ineffective or effective. Usually, we determine the factor anyway.
So what strategies do you use to engage and involve community members in your projects?
Always ask questions. Always ask questions for what their likes and their dislikes. Know who they are as a person before you let them pursue anything that goes with a community necessity that's in the works. Because if their persona or their character does not match the enthusiasm to the actual expertise you're looking for, sometimes that will be determined on giving them a shot to see what their suggestion may go. But if they really more thorough with it and they're like-minded just like yourself, the reflection of it will ignite, but only off of its bare necessity. If he has a good example will be, I have an engineering background. We have somebody else who is an electrician. So he has everything that I'm looking for as a base level. However, if there's certain things in the community that I can interest him into, he will also have to understand. I was like, okay, will this benefit me for the long run, or will this benefit me for the short term? What can I get out of it right now to the point where I could stop my occupation temporarily and get it done, or even add to it afterwards? In regards to certain things, that's how it goes.
So how do you make that determination? What is it based on?
Well, depends on, for me, it's always going to be depends on where I connect to them. But the thing is, if you're dealing with the community, you don't want to connect to them in a place where everybody is pretty much going to go head to tail what they desire. Like, you're not gonna get anything about the community efficiency or necessity at a bar. You can't really get it too much at a nightclub. You can't get it too much. But if you can go to like a gym or a breakfast spot or a brunch spot to talk about it, there's always going to be something in the works. There are certain spots where you know that everybody is open ended, like Barnes and Noble, library. You know, I've seen Hobby Lobby. People in Hobby Lobby, they're all open ended. LA Fitness. Yeah, there's people at Hobby Lobby that don't mind dealing with our community innovations. LA Fitness, people in LA Fitness. If you go to the one in Camp Creek, Acres Mill, those two areas, they pretty much have entrepreneurship written all over it because majority of them are in the self-made business. I mean, till this day, the propaganda of entrepreneurship, it bleeds resonance over there. So, and they're not to mention they're always moving, they're always active. You can see it in their workouts. They're in 5 in the morning when they first open up. They're out 6, 7 o'clock. They got other stuff knocking out. They have their own schedule, and if they are intrigued about the community innovation that you have, they're doing some investments. As long as you're serious, they can be serious.
How do you balance technical skills with soft skills in your role as an engineer?
Always learn new soft skill tactics, especially going from the fact of pursuing the essence of sales. There's a good I know there's a good thing where I heard from James Bryant in regards to marketing strategies and sales strategies, and Dave Ramsey has some good sales strategies and things in that nature. But you always got to find ways to master your soft skills by learning more on how to learn more delivery traits and communication. That way that the comprehension of that communication can actually be more can more be eye open or be direct. Because people can be visual learners, or people can be externalizers. So some people could use other people's conversations so they can learn from it, or they're personalizers. They have to put themselves in a situation to understand it. Even if no matter if it's math, if it's something dealing with a story, if it's something dealing with something dealing with a current event, they have to put themselves in it to understand it, regardless of their personality is in it or not. So
So does that go back to the part where you were mentioning introvert and extroverts?
yeah, well not just that, also the support for the ambiverted society, because you can't decide, like, it's hard to determine who's introvert and extrovert based off of the nature of social norms, because everyone has a support system that governs both sides. So you really can't tell heads or tails of it now because everybody's looking at their phone. So you can also assume they're introvert, depending that they have the amount of friends on social media or the amount of people they have on their phone. You can't make heads and tails. You have a personal connection with, or have a personal communication with them. So they can have a focus and they're still ambivert because they can change. That's what I said. Like,
Mhm.
the synonym for inconsistency is always change. And a lot of people don't really understand the difference because they always say that with change is universal, which it is. But but if you're consistent for something, it doesn't create change. It always creates security.
Mhm.
Anything that has consistency will never change.
What advice would you give to someone looking to start a career in IT?
If you start, if you start something, finish. And when you finish, make sure that the support you paid for supports your career. Never
Mm.
ever hit hustle while you're pursuing that career. Because the one thing I know is that the finish line always changes in IT. Because when once social media came out, the nuances of the finish line, it changed. The nuance of the finish line changed. So
Mm.
you, like, 500 in your first place. Once you hit 499, you see that checker flag. You assume that checker flag is there. Once you hit that quarter turn and you go straight in, that checker flag gets switched to a green flag. They got started all over again.
Mm.
That is what it's like trying to pursue IT now. Since it's a broad field, and this broad field has too many concentrations. And based on the concentration, there's too much support based on certain delegates. And majority of the time, the ones that put forth the effort are trying not to get hustled while the effort is complete. While some of them don't put that much effort, and the support will always be there. It also leads to the absence of network with education, rather than those who actually put that pursuit. And it is one of those things. That's one of the biggest issues we have in IT now is that we have people with degrees and can find jobs, and that's for any job. Now you got to have certification, and which companies are not going to invest in you. Because back in the day, there was no such thing as certification at first, because companies were actually going to train you based off the stuff that you have for the recommendation of you having a degree. Once you finish that, it opened up doors. Now, you having a degree is pretty much just a checklist saying that you finished becoming the system of optimism we're looking for. But you still need more from you.
How do you measure the success and impact of your community development initiatives?
Based on what the children is learning from you. I always say that your community innovation is success based on the innovation of what the children is learning out of it. And the children are literally gaining so much knowledge from something that you know, us in our mature stage, or some of age, actually learning to build and create. But for them, they're creating so much in a little bit of time, just off of their tablet, just playing these little games, and uh, they're making islands out of programs, and they're doing Minecraft and making little people in villages. And now they're turning these people in villages into a society as they grow up. And now these people now are all connected online and they're friends. And it's like all of that is all started from just the building block of what the community or like us are innovating, so the children can actually have more comfortability of creating so many different things. The children is literally the future.
So in conclusion, what advice would you like to give to the people that are watching this show as you just gave this educational course on being an engineer and working in IT?
Always continue to learn, and never, if you really are into anything in life, go after it as a hard charge to go after. Never get ridiculed for any direction you gotta go. Always learn. Always stay strong. Always stay structured. Always stay healthy, both physically and spiritually. Spiritually is always going to be a thing because you're going to be pulled through efforts of chaos, and that's always going to be exercised so many different ways. But also the exact same time, and I don't and like I don't say it enough. Don't ever get hustle for what you're trying to pursue. If you want something so bad, remember, no one. I've seen people so many different ways say you know you did this, but you didn't do anything, so it's an excuse. I was like, it can't be an excuse if I paid for it. If I paid for the pursuit, so now I'm getting
Right,
hustled. Don't ever get
right,
hustled for anything. If you put money into it, you better make sure that money is coming back to you. If you're investing in something, you better make sure the investment comes back to you. If it don't come back to you, that's called hoodwink. Because now you're putting in money and you signed the contract. Now you got a hoodwink. When you're getting hustled, is that you believe in someone's word and holding to the integrity of their word, like an apprentice, and you're paying for the knowledge. And they don't give you no knowledge to pursue the next step. That is a hustle. And
oh
hoodwink
wow,
is another version of hustle.
wow,
And hoodwink is another style of hustle, which means that I'm signing this, I'm giving you the money for it. Your company got this, so now I'm expecting something. But if something goes left with the company and the company shut down, you got my money. So now what I gotta do? A lot of
as you say that, I mean, you can look at what you're saying, and of course it's clear and it's obvious what that answer is, but that means that you've made a bad decision.
or or I trust the wrong investment.
Hmm.
But the thing is,
Okay.
being, if you're trusting the wrong investment, the main thing is that it can't be a mistake if it's a company. But you can also understand the fact that even if it was a mistake to pursue it, you still stood 10 toes down to pursue it based off what they offered. If they're offering it, it can't be an excuse if you're pursuing it. But if they shut down, then it can't just be on you because they shut down. Maybe it's like I paid to pursue it. If I wasn't serious, there wouldn't be no money in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
No one pays for an excuse. You can't live at an excuse if you're paying. You can't live at an excuse if you're paying for it. No one pays for an excuse. If I'm pursuing something, you can't say that I'm paying for an excuse. That means that something on their end got messed up, and something that I'm doing, they're not telling me. But at the end of the day, I signed the contract, so I have to abide by the integrity of the contract. Like in the NBA, if you sign that contract, you're playing. But there's rules and regulations under that contract you have to follow that the NBA has to understand. Not everything is nonprofit.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Bailey, I want to thank you for spending this time with us, and I hope that you will come back because this was very, very good, and I really enjoyed this. I'm more than sure that the audience enjoyed it as well. So I'm looking forward to you actually coming back. I want to thank each and every individual that has watched this show. Those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, please hit the subscription button and hit the little bell next to it for the notifications button. So every time we do a new episode, you will get the notification that is there and you are able to watch it and subscribe. As we grow, I look forward to having more and more of you actually join us for this show, because we're going to be doing some new things coming up into the month of September. So I want to thank each of you for spending your time with us, and I want to say have a great evening, and we will see you all tomorrow for another great show. Thank you again, Mr. Bailey, for being with us.